Hi everyone. So it is the 20th of July. I'm gonna start trying to film videos maybe a little bit earlier in the day. Not as dark out, not as late at night. We'll see. Um, anyway, so workout today is great. Keeping up the strength cycle. Weight is sticking steady. I've lost, a few pounds, maybe 5 pounds since I ended the bulk and stopped drinking so much cola. At the same time, I am looking a bit leaner, particularly in the gut area. That's probably just a little bit of water weight, honestly. Just yeah, not much in the way of reduction of overall leanness. Just that I'm holding a bit less water weight than I was. That's about it. Anyway, I had one of my former clients text me. He wanted to know the answer to a few different questions. So basically, he wanted to know what supplements are good. Which supplements are worth taking. And then he had another question, which was basically, he's heard that if you take supplements and then you stop taking them, you lose muscle, or you lose whatever you gained while you were on them. So I'll address both of those questions, both those topics. So the first one is, which supplements are useful? Which supplements are worth taking? So the most commonly used supplement, above all, of course, is a multivitamin. Multivitamin is just supposed to help cover up gaps in nutritional deficiencies, stuff like that. Unfortunately, research has shown that multivitamins, it's extremely divided. The research is extremely divided. There's not really good research in either direction, and there's a few different possible reasons for that. One could possibly be just that they're not really containing what they say they're containing, which is a huge possibility in our supplement industry. And another is simply that people don't really need the nutrients that they contain. I would say it probably leans a little more towards the latter. The supplement industry and health industry in general tends to overplay the concept that you need a crap ton of nutrients, of the micronutrients, which is not the fats, carbs, and proteins that give you energy, but all the little smaller things, your vitamins, your minerals, etc. The thing is that your body is capable of making most of those things if you need them. And you only really need... They're micronutrients. You don't really need huge amounts of them, honestly. And so, typically, as long as you're eating a somewhat balanced diet, as long as you're not just eating fast food and eating the same 3 foods over and over again, chances are that you're getting most of the nutrients you need, and it's not really impacting your health that much. So, depending, you may want to use a multivitamin in your diet, but I don't think they're super important. Next big one, protein powder. Protein powder is great. Protein powder is safe. Protein powder is effective. It's one of the most highly studied supplements of all time. It's derived from milk, and usually you avoid issues with lactose intolerance and stuff like that because it takes it out. But some people with lactose intolerance, like myself, might have a little bit of an issue with it. But aside from that, protein is extremely useful in helping you hit protein targets. So that's something that most people don't understand. They think that you just drink protein powder and you get, buffer, you build more muscle. They think more protein is always good. Basically, if you understand macronutrients, if you understand, macro-based diets, you'll understand that there's certain targets that you have to hit each day in terms of protein, in terms of overall calories, in terms of fats and carbs. So if you're not able to hit your protein targets, protein shakes are super convenient compared to most protein sources. Most protein sources are meat, dairy, eggs, fish, and they take longer to prepare, and you can't really get good you want to avoid processed meat because that's not really very good for you. And typically contains a lot of fillers, so it's not even got as much protein in it anyway. And of course, you don't want to necessarily just eat at McDonald's or whatever. So, good protein tends to, you tend to need to prepare at home, tends to need to take longer, and it tends to be more expensive. So protein shakes are a slightly cheaper, slightly more convenient way to get your protein in. Typically, a protein shake has about 30 grams of protein, which is about what you would expect to see in a decent-sized serving of meat. And so that's a super easy way to get your protein in if you need to make up your protein targets for the day. So protein powder, extremely useful, particularly for maintaining muscle, building muscle, and just sort of body composition stuff. Next is creatine. Creatine is extremely effective in terms of helping you get stronger. Essentially, creatine is a form of energy that is stored in your muscles naturally. You can get an extremely tiny amount of it from meat naturally occurring, but basically supplementation is many-fold, much larger dosage than you'd be able to find in your diet elsewhere. And basically, once you store more of that in your muscles, you get stronger because you have more energy. Of course, it's only creatine is a short it's a very short burst of energy. It's not used at all in any endurance activity, and it's not even used as much in like hypertrophy type work, 8 to 12 rep range. It's basically just those first few reps when you first start a set that use that sort of energy. So again, it's super useful if you're looking to get stronger, and that can have positive effects over time in terms of building more muscle because you're able to do more more work, more volume. But at the same time, it's not really a physique thing. It's more of a strength thing. And some people get a little bit of bloating when they drink or when they take creatine. It's typically sold as monohydrate, which is a pretty tasteless powder that you can mix in with anything. That's the easiest way to get it in. But creatine is highly recommended for strength, not so much for anything else. After that, and then there's caffeine, and then there's caffeine in terms of, just caffeine helps you stay awake, may improve performance a little bit in across the board. But that's, of course, mostly only with people that don't use a ton of caffeine normally, because if you're chugging coffee in the morning just to get up, then you chug some coffee before your workout, you're not going to get as much, your body's just used to it, you're not going to get as much of it. So it's typically best to, if you're going to try and use caffeine as some kind of pre-workout or some kind of thing, just use it sparingly in the rest of your life. Now, that's basically a full list of all the stuff that is really meaningfully useful. Mostly everything else is extremely situational, or there's really not a lot of good research to back it up. Another popular one is BCAAs, which is basically when you have the protein, there's it's composed of the amino acids, and we've identified that the BCAAs, which are called the branched chain amino acids, are the most effective of the amino acids in terms of building muscle. And to the extent that actually leucine, one of the BCAAs, is responsible for the vast majority of all of the effect of all of the protein that you eat. So, does supplementation with BCAAs help? Well, yes and no, because if you're already getting enough protein elsewhere, you're already getting enough leucine elsewhere, and that means that you're fine. So when do BCAAs come in handy? Well, that's when you're not getting enough leucine elsewhere. So when you're eating lower quality protein sources like veggies and carbs, they'll typically have some amount of protein, but it's not a high quality protein that contains a lot of leucine. Same thing with if you're not eating your protein targets for the day. Sure, BCAAs can help make up that difference, but it's an expensive and kind of inefficient way to make up that difference. It's better to just do with protein powder or whatever. So I recommend BCAAs for vegetarians. It's a great, it's a great way to help make up your protein deficit if you're a vegetarian, because it's hard as a vegetarian to get in the same amount of protein as an omnivore. At the same time, it's not very useful for most people. That's honestly. I mean, there's so many other things. Pre-workouts, sure, yeah, you can take a pre-workout if that's your thing, but pre-workouts are typically basically just, it's like an energy drink. It's like a powdered energy drink that you take. And like I said with the caffeine, if you get too used to it, then you're not going to get as much of an effect out of it, and then you're going to be kind of dependent on it, and you're going to need it to get your workout in, which shouldn't be the goal. The goal should be that you can do it, you can do the workout just fine on your own, and then you can take that added boost if you really need it for some really specific reason, like, say, a competition, or, something like that. Some super important, super hard training day once a week. I don't know. Whatever. The point is, it shouldn't be a regular thing. It can be, I guess. It's not necessarily a negative, it's just that you don't want to have to depend on an expensive supplement. Well, expensive relative to paying $0, that is. So, yeah. So basically, that's all that that's all I can really say. That covers most of the major supplement stuff. I mean, you can send me, specific questions. You can also check out Examine.com. Examine.com is the best source for info on supplements, and they basically compile all the research and crunch it down and make it a lot more understandable. So Examine.com is the best place to check out if you are looking to get some pretty clear info on what supplement does what the scientific research says about it, etc. Now, moving on to the second part of that question, which is, do you lose muscle faster? Do you lose strength faster? Do you lose it after you go off the supplements? So, no, you wouldn't at all. So basically, and I'm going to talk about steroids now because steroids are a supplement, I guess. When you take steroids, for example, you build some muscle, and what happens is you're also building satellite cells in the process. So satellite cells are built while you're building muscle, and essentially they help control how easy it is for your body to build muscle. So the more of them you have, the easier it is for you to build muscle. And in fact, that is responsible for, we have this effect called muscle memory, where if you lose weight, if you go back down, you lose some muscle. It's actually easier to rebuild muscle a second time after you've built it a first time, because those satellite cells are already existing, and so it's a little bit simpler to build muscle when you've already got those satellite cells. And as a result, we've seen studies that show that you can take steroids and then go off of them, and you are much better for the rest of your life. Which is why doping, anti-steroid stuff is kind of silly sometimes, because even if you're not directly on steroids at this moment, and you've been off it long enough to pass the drug test, you could have totally been taking it in the off season, and it's again still giving you benefits for life. You're not, even if you go off it, you're not going to be as high as you were, but you're going to be higher than if you never took steroids in terms of your results. So the same thing happens to a lesser extent with protein, with creatine. Yes, you're gonna lose some because you don't have the addition of that supplement, but you're still going to be better than if you just have never taken the supplement at all, because you did already build that quality, you did already build that strength, you did already build that muscle. So yeah, you will typically lose a little bit when you come off of a supplement that you've been using regularly and that's been helping you. But you're still going to be in a better position than if you had never used the supplement, essentially. And if you stop taking protein, you're not going to, just suddenly start losing muscle mass. That's not how it works. Basically, once you've built something, it's easier to rebuild it or to go upward from there. So, yeah, it's not like you'll just, I stopped taking protein, now I'm going to waste away to nothing. So hopefully that covers the topic. I've talked about supplements elsewhere. I believe I did another video about it and how the supplement industry is kind of corrupt and kind of really shitty, and a lot of what you're paying for is basically just you're spoon feeding a placebo into your mouth that costs a shit ton of money, and then you get nothing out of it, and then yay. So yeah, some supplements are useful. Some supplement companies are extremely dishonest, and you may not even be getting the supplements that you're supposed to be getting sometimes. And, there's not really a good way to double check that. But, yeah, supplements are useful. I myself use a website called True Nutrition that sells stuff in bulk directly to you, and they seem to be trustworthy. I don't know. It's clear, obviously, that I'm not a huge supplement person. I think that supplements are designed to be exactly that. They're supposed to supplement an existing diet, and I think you get a better, overall effect in terms of seeing the results you're looking for from your primary dietary, what you're putting in your mouth. So that should be the main focus, but supplements are still useful. Anyway, I've been going on for a while, so I guess that is it for today. As always, like, comment, share, tell me what you want to see in the future, and I will talk to you guys later. Night.